Okay, ladies, how many times are you saying yes when you know you should be saying no? I'm talking about you're overwhelmed and you're still saying yes, or you know you are saying yes and it's going to take you away from your goals, your family, your own sanity and well being. That extra client project you didn't want, that commitment that you really didn't have time for, or the event you agreed to even though you were already exhausted. Ladies, if saying yes too much is draining us, why do we keep doing it? Your time, your energy, those are limited. And although you are the one in control of them, sometimes you choose to give other people the control simply because you are saying yes when you should have said no, all to avoid feeling guilty. So, in this video, I am going to teach you a simple 6-step strategy so you can confidently say no without feeling guilty. Now, before we get into the strategy, we have to talk about why this is so hard in the first place. Because if it were as simple as saying no, you would already be doing it. Saying no is not just a time management issue, it's definitely not a vocabulary issue, it's an emotional issue. And if you've ever felt guilty, anxious, or worried about disappointing someone, you're not alone. Let's see if you can relate to these 5 reasons why saying no feels so hard to those of us that are people pleasers. 1, you do not want to disappoint others. Now, I get this. I hear it all the time with clients. I've experienced it myself. Sometimes when we say no, it feels like we are going to let the person down or they're going to think less of us. Here's the truth. You are not responsible for how others feel about your choices, especially when those choices protect your well-being or best interest. And disappointing somebody does not mean you've done anything wrong, and it does not make you a bad person. Next, you worry saying no is actually going to burden them. You feel like saying no means you are choosing to inconvenience them. And that's hard because we never want to be an inconvenience to other people. But the truth is, it is not your responsibility to solve other people's problems. As much as you have always been Superwoman, that is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to your own problems. And if a no creates a challenge for somebody else, they are capable of finding a solution. Let's not discount their own abilities, right? They are capable for finding a solution that is different than you for the problem that they're trying to solve. And that's okay. 3, FOMO, fear of missing out. It's a real thing. I see this a lot, especially with business owners. It is very hard because you do not want to pass up on an opportunity, even if it's not the right opportunity for you. Now, not every opportunity is going to be the right opportunity. Sometimes you have to remember that you need to turn down a good opportunity so you can have the space and room to say yes to a great opportunity. And sometimes, depending on your season, it's going to be important to say no to a good opportunity so that you can say yes to other areas that are more important in your life. Example, your health, your family, spiritual needs, or bigger business goals. Whatever it may be, it is important to understand that sometimes we feel guilty because the opportunity is actually good, but it's not the right fit for us. And that's important to recognize. Number 4, you would prefer to avoid conflict. You'd rather take something on than deal with an awkward conversation. The truth is, though, avoiding this conflict, this is actually going to create more stress in the long run. And saying yes to avoid an uncomfortable conversation is only going to delay the discomfort. And honestly, it can start to lead to resentment or bitterness. And that is not healthy. And it's something we definitely want to avoid. Sometimes doing the hard work of saying no is definitely in our best interest. And lastly, you feel responsible for other people's feelings. This is where you assume saying no is going to upset them. And you do not want to be responsible for that. And of course, nobody wants to be responsible for hurting somebody else's feelings or causing emotional stress. But here's the thing, other people's emotions are not your responsibility. You are only responsible for how you communicate your yes or no response. You are not responsible for how somebody chooses to react. The truth is, you can still say no and be kind. So let's recap. You often say yes when you should say no because you fear disappointing others. You do not want to create an inconvenience for them. You have a fear of maybe missing out on something. You want to avoid conflict or any awkwardness or upsetting them emotionally. Let's be honest, these are heavy emotions and they did not pop up overnight. And honestly, you're a great person. I just want to put that out there. You're a great person because this also is a heart of somebody who wants to love and serve other people well. We just want to make sure when we're loving and serving other people that we are being wise and we are being fair to ourselves in the process so that we are not pouring from an empty cup. So now that we understand why saying no is hard, let's talk about how to make it easier. I'm going to walk you through a 6-step strategy that I use with not only my own business, but also with my clients on helping them say no with confidence and having zero guilt, because that's what we want, right? We want to be able to say no and not feel guilty. That's the thing. We want to get rid of the emotions. The first step is you need to set your yes boundaries. Every time you say yes to something, you're giving up time and energy that could be used elsewhere. We have to budget our time wisely. Instead of immediately giving a response when somebody asks something of you, there's some questions I want you to ask yourself. The first one, what will I have to say no to if I take this on? Pretty much like, what am I sacrificing? Because we only have so much time, we're gonna have to swap it out, right? What am I sacrificing? What am I gonna have to say no to if I take this on? Second question I want you to ask, is there a better way I could be spending my time? Something might sound like a great idea, but is it your greatest rate of return of your time? And next, will your future self thank you or be frustrated with you for saying yes to this? Let's be honest. There are times we say yes to things we already know as soon as that yes rolls off our tongue, we are going to be mad at ourselves. Like, why in the world did I say yes to this? We need to stop before we ever respond and ask, will my future self thank me for this? And lastly, do I need to say yes to this? AKA, is this emotionally driven? If it doesn't pass the test of what your criteria needs to look like to get a yes, it needs to be a no. Now, this step is great to understand if you need to say no or yes, but this doesn't help you with the confidence part, right? And it doesn't help you to not feel guilty about it, which leads us to step 2. You need to shift your perspective. You're not saying no, you are saying yes to what matters. And that's important. It's not about rejecting somebody, it's about protecting what is actually valuable to you. You get one yes, either yes to what you are protecting or yes to what somebody is requesting. A no to somebody's request is a yes to your well-being, your growth, and spending time on what truly matters to you. It's your life to live, and you can only prioritize what you say yes to and what you say no to. A no does not push people away. It protects what's most important. And when you focus on what you're saying yes to, instead of focusing on the requests that you're saying no to, it's going to feel a lot easier because you're weighing the value of what your yes is directed towards. Step 3, you're going to have to stop mind reading. Not only can we not mind read, but we're also not in charge of other people's reactions. And when we attempt to mind read, we are telling ourselves that we are in charge of other people's reactions. You might think, if I say no, they're going to be so mad, or I don't think that they're going to think that I care, and I don't want them to feel that way. But first of all, you don't actually know that because you can't read their mind. And second of all, most of the time, people accept no and they move on. Even if somebody does get upset, that's their reaction to manage, not yours. If they put unrealistic expectations on what they think you're responsible for, that is a them problem, not a you problem. So next time you feel guilty, remind yourself, it's okay, first of all, for me to say no, and I am worthy of the respect of that no. I don't know if you heard me. You are worthy of the respect of saying no. Step 4, keep no simple and kind. Ladies, I know we love to explain ourselves. I'm probably the worst, but when it comes to saying no, you do not have to explain yourself or apologize for it. A simple no is enough. Now you might be thinking, I don't even know the best approach of saying a no without explaining myself. So here's a few examples. I'm unavailable, but thank you for thinking of me. Thanks, but I need to pass this time. That's not something I can take on right now. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. Just kidding. You can be kind and give a short response. If a short response feels awkward, it's not because you're doing something wrong. It's because you have felt the need for a really long time to always explain yourself. But the truth is, you don't owe anyone an explanation. So start flexing that new boundary muscle. Keep it short and move on. Step 5, view your no as a form of respect. When you say no, you're actually being honest, and honesty is a trust builder. So instead of thinking, I'm letting this person down, shift your mindset to, I'm being honest, and that is the best thing I can be. Because if the people we are saying no to truly value us, they would rather receive a no, because they do not want us to say yes and then we stress, or worse, start to resent the relationship that we have with them. That's not what somebody wants for us. When you say yes, when you really should have said no, you're lying to yourself or the other person on your true willingness to do what you say you're committing to. No is a respectable word, and sometimes the kindest response we can give to somebody. Step 6, practice saying no in small ways. If saying no feels hard, start small. Repetition helps build confidence. Say no to an extra project that you really don't have time for, or say no to checking emails after work or scrolling social media. Say no to a social event you aren't really that excited about. The more you practice, the easier it gets. Saying no doesn't mean you're a bad person. It means you're respecting yourself, your time, and your goals, which in turn allows you to be your best self for others. The right people will respect your boundaries, and the wrong ones, well, they were never worth your energy anyways. If you found this video helpful, be sure to subscribe to my channel for more business tips like this. And if you would love to win weekly and build your business with confidence and clarity, you can sign up for my email list in the description below.